So in the gospel reading, we hear the disciples tell Jesus to increase their faith. In return, Jesus essentially tells them that the size of their faith doesn't matter, that with the littlest bit of faith they can do great things. Then Jesus goes on to tell them, through a parable about a servant, that our relationship with God is based on grace and not on our works. So as Lutherans, that second part is pretty ingrained in us, from learning in catechism or Bible study or conversation, even through the songs we sing. We know that our relationship with God is rooted in God's grace and not in our works. But still, it's easy to relate or empathize with the disciples in their request to have more faith. Perhaps we've thought, if only I had more faith, my life would be different. Maybe we haven't thought it about ourselves, but about a friend or a family member, or maybe even a person that we don't know on social media. If only they had more faith, they would, or if only they had more faith, they wouldn't. It's an easy trap to fall into. I mean, the disciples were literally right next to Jesus, and they wanted more faith. Luckily for us, there is God's grace, which embraces us with love and forgiveness for all that we do and for all that we don't do. At Living Water Ministries, our mission statement includes a phrase that says we are about bringing together all of God's children. When campers sign up for a week of camp, do we ask them how strong their faith is, or even if they have faith at all? No. Do we ask them what kind of good works they've done in the world? No. What we do, however, through the community built at camp and at our events, is really try to live out the gospel and show the love of Christ and the grace of God to everyone around us. These two things are what transforms the world one person at a time. Now, I'd like to share with you a story about a camper named Kaylee. Kaylee was a middle school camper who had just completed 8th grade who came to camp with her youth group. But Kaylee wanted nothing to do with it. She was determined to have a horrible time and to go home early. Now, it's rare that I hear about a camper unless it's something that's really too much for the counselor to handle. But by Sunday night, they arrived Sunday afternoon. I had already heard about Kaylee. Kaylee wouldn't eat, she wouldn't participate in any activities, nothing. So Monday morning, her counselor and her youth leader came to me to figure out what to do. Now, we took the route of telling her what we were going to be doing that night and the next day. That would be so much fun, things to look forward to. But she was determined to have a horrible time. Her cabin mates even tried to get her involved and cheer her up, but she wasn't going for that either. All she wanted to do was call home to get her mom to come and pick her up. And it was getting to the point where I knew I was going to have to call home and see if her parents would be able to say, no, you're staying, or if they'd be coming to pick her up. So once that happens, campers are usually fine once their parents say, oh no, you're fine. They're like, oh yeah, I'm fine. So I call her mom to see what she's going to say, and her mom says, oh, she's not coming home. She needs to have this experience. She might not realize it, but it's exactly what she needs right now. So I tell Kaylee that at lunch on Tuesday, she can call her mom, but if her mom says, no, she can't come home, she's got to know that that's it, and she's there until Friday. Kaylee agrees to this. Tuesday rolls around, and we call mom. Now, at this point, her counselor, youth leader, the camp nurses, other summer staff, and myself have all been trying to talk with her and lift her spirits. So she gets on the phone. Mom says, you're not coming home. And she starts crying and saying how horrible it is and how much she hates it. And then through the tears, she drops this bomb. I hate my counselor. She's just so nice. Now this must have assured Mom that Stony Lake was the most horrible place on earth, because that was the end of the conversation. Kaylee hung up and was staying for the week. Now we wanted to give her a chance to calm down a little before going back into the lodge for lunch with everyone else, and she just kept saying, "I want to be at home." So I asked her what she would be doing if she was at home. She said, "I'd be working in my dad's store, stocking the shelves." So I asked if she wanted to help me in the camp store that day, and that was it. We got through to her. She said, "Yeah, that would be fun." The tears stopped, and she was totally fine. Everyone has a story. Everyone needs to connect with other people and be heard. Once we figured out what Kaylee needed, she was fine. For the rest of the week, she was fine, and she needed responsibility. So she helped in the camp store, she took pictures all week, and made a presentation for her church when she got home about her week at camp. On Thursday night after campfire, Kaylee said to her youth leader, "You know, they have high school camps. I can come back next year." Now that is the power of the love of Jesus and the grace of God extended through the community at camp. Through the community at camp, centered in Christ, Kaylee was loved and shown grace, and her world was transformed. Similarly to the disciples, Kaylee couldn't see this, but her mom had faith, no matter how big or small, that Kaylee would grow in her relationship with God while at camp. We have our opportunities to be the disciples, to be the ones who demand to have more faith, but we also have the opportunity to be more like Jesus, the opportunity to show the love and grace of God to everyone around us. At Living Water Ministries, we are doing all that we can to be welcoming to all people, so that everyone can see what faith really looks like. Maybe it's seen through a day camper in Flint who shows the counselors how to braid hair, or a transgender elementary camper who's fully immersed in the camp community and having a blast being themselves. Maybe it's through the middle school girl who's always a bully at home, but comes home from camp and has turned a new page and is kind to everyone. We have the opportunity to see things how Jesus saw them every day, and to plant the seeds of faith wherever we go. Partner with us and share the love and grace of God with everyone that you can, and know that your faith is enough.